you're not going to have some of the GC contenders blowing up, and like the stage up to Solden, where Kelderman kind of cracked a little bit, hung in there. We're not going to have a big long stage anyway for today's stage, but as we see in the valley, it's fine. We go up over the climb. It was this morning. It was but it's lifted again. It's brightening up, but the decision was already made, and let the race commence, and I'm sure it's going to be really entertaining.
Well, interestingly enough, the cyclotourists, the amateur riders in the Tour de Suisse Challenge Sportive, which has been running all week, I think they've had 4 or 5 days where they've replicated the roads replicated the stage that the Tour de Suisse riders are riding on, and they actually did do both climbs today. They went up over the Albula Pass, down and back up over the Fluella Pass, and finished, a lot of them pretty cold, wet, tired, but pretty ecstatic and delighted as they picked up their medals at the podium a little while ago. So the group is heading off, and these short stages can often be twice as fascinating. They tend to pack a punch. They really condense all the racing into such a short amount of time that really there tends to be no let up in the action. So it should be very, very entertaining. You mentioned the GC flight. Let's run through it again. 8 seconds for Miguel Angel Lopez of Team Astana over Andrew Talansky in the green of Team Cannondale. Jon Izagirre, after that stunning time trial success yesterday, the Spaniard from Team Movistar, taking an 18-second win over Miguel Angel Lopez, impairing his disadvantage, if you want to put it that way, to Lopez, to now just 16 seconds. That's what he's got to try and make up. Warren Barguil climbing like an eagle over the last few days, but not time trialing with the same facility. He's now dropped back to 18 seconds back from Miguel Angel Lopez. They're the riders with the big chance, the big opportunity. Jarlinson Pantano is sitting in 5th place at 52 seconds. Wilco Kelderman at 1:21. He's gone backwards in the last couple of days. Great time trial performance yesterday, great recovery. TJ Van Garderen, good time trial performance from him too. He's sitting 7th. Geraint Thomas is 1 minute and 30 seconds back in 8th. Simon Spilak, the reigning champion, is in 9th, and Rui Costa, former champion, in 10th, as the attacks start from the get-go. No surprise there.
Yeah, it's nice to see a start. It's only a short stage, but a lot of viewers at home, we don't get often the chances to see the start and the tactics rolling out. The first attack was the second division team from Germany, Team Roth. They want to try and do something. They've been involved. They had the King of the Mountains jersey after the first road stage with Krajcek. But as we said, Lamprey getting involved, Cannondale, Daniel Luis is up there for BMC, the Swiss champion. Decided to let one of the Team Rod guys go, but here we go, a double attack, looks like, from Etix Quickstep.
So Etix Quickstep with that superb stage victory courtesy of
Gaviria and Ricchesi.
Yeah, that is interesting. So attack is the best form of defence. An interesting decision there from Etix Quickstep. We mentioned at the start of the show, Brian was talking about the mathematical possibility for Peter Sagan if he takes the 6 points on offer at the 2 intermediate sprints, and then you add in the 10 points on offer at the finish line. Well, it is going to be impossible really for Sagan to close that 18-point gap between himself and Ricchesi. So Ricchesi not really shackled by those constraints, and now he's thinking about getting off up the road and trying to get into an early move. Who's going to control it? It's not going to be let away with any facility, given it's such a short stage. As they race towards the bottom of that hill, as I say, 30 kilometres remaining in the stage is where we hit the bottom of the hill, with a couple of intermediate sprints along the way with some points on offer. Ricchesi and Gaviria are really a nice little double act, aren't they, as they came through that final turn in Champagne a few days ago. It looked as if Ricchesi was leading out Gaviria for the win, but well, he retained such an advantage. Gaviria was absolutely delighted to let his teammate coast across the line with his hands up. Gaviria too celebrating that, almost lost second in the process.
Yeah, they're not hanging about. 55 kilometres an hour. It's when the Roth rider went off the front, and then you saw that double attack from Gaviria. Just sheer power, and they're not hanging around. Ricchesi really looking to have this points jersey wrapped up. He must be slightly worried about Peter Sagan, but they've got a good advantage, and very difficult to come across to 3 riders when they're riding flat out like this.
So Alex Quickstep trying to pull a fast one. Who is minded to try and control this one? The Astana riders to the fore, as you might expect. Miguel Angel Lopez, his team are going to try and put manners on this one as best they can. Just how isolated is he going to be on that climb? Are the general classification riders? I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the likes of Barkwi. He really likes to go on the attack, knows he's got to close something down and needs to carry an advantage up to the top of the mountain. So we'll watch for Warren Barkwi. I wonder who else will be on the attack. How's Talansky going to play it? 8 seconds back?
Well, the thing is that, you know, we've talked about this all week. Are you going to go for it? Are you going to risk? You know, it is a tricky descent and it will be wet towards the top of the climb, but you know, it's a risk you take, and you know, would you be happy with a podium place in the Tour de Switzerland? Some people will ride for that, but there's still a few riders maybe a little bit further back thinking more of a stage win, like TGA, Geraint Thomas, you know, they sort of riders. Rui Costa thinking more of a stage win, but they're also thinking of trying to stay in the top 10 because it's points. So I hope we see a battle. I hope we see people, you know, throwing it out there and taking some risks, but at the end of the day, it might happen that you know, a lot of these riders will start marking each other out, and it could be slightly negative, which means that some of these GC contenders in the top 10 could take advantage and pick up that stage win.
Well, we watch for the battles raging throughout the top 10 as Matthias Kreisek has tried to make his way off the front. A little bit of frustration for Ricchesi and Gaviria that their effort was chased down. Kreisek was in the early breakaway on the first road stage, stage 2, back on Monday, and Kreisek had the lead in the mountains competition for one day before Antoine Tolhoek took the blue jersey, which he's going to carry all the way to the line in Davos this afternoon. Kreisek for Team Rot has been joined by riders from Orica, Green Edge, Sky, AG2 Orla Mondial.
Yeah, Michael Gowash is the Sky rider there, former Polish champion. He's got Sam Bewley for Orica, Green Edge. Still a lot of riders just sitting down the back, letting everybody you know, have their fun, because this is going to be frenetic for the next few kilometres. Elio Kaiser comes up for Ethics as well, so it's fast, it's furious, stop, start, and the attacks will keep on happening as you see one of the rod riders going up to take another go.
Kreisek didn't work out, so Team Rod, clearly they've had a rocket from their team manager, and that would have been the message in the team bus this morning. Got to get a rider in the break.
Yeah, very much looks like that. They started this race very well, with Kreisek getting in the breakaway in the first road stage, taking the King of the Mountains, and you know, with it being a very difficult tour, they've kind of been very quiet over the last few days, but you know, they're certainly fighting today.
They certainly are. They've spread it thin. The Astana riders to the fore, but the yellow jersey staying safely nestled in the middle of the group at the moment, and aware that there's going to be all this level of activity. Do Astana try and just keep their powder dry and keep their rider in position? Or do they actually get involved in keeping the tempo high and chasing it down? How do they play it?
Yeah, Gregory Rast at the front here for Trek Segafredo, or is that Jasper Stuyven, sorry. So Stuyven getting involved there. Ricchesi still trying to get involved. He really wants that black points jersey.
Well, he can climb too, can't he? I mean, what an amazing climbing performance from him. It really caught us by surprise with that second place finish a couple of days ago. So if he gets in the break and is given enough time, okay, it's a short stage, but he thinks maybe he has a chance of a sprint. He would be a class sprinter if he took a small group to the line. Now Stuyven and Ricchesi. And Stuyven too is a class act in a sprint, so there'll be no gimme for Ricchesi if this one did manage to finally stick. It's Magnus Cort Nielsen, so three very strong sprinters actually trying to get up the road and see if they can pull a fast one on the climbers.
Yeah, it is three very strong riders, and there was another kind of 2 or 3 riders trying to come across, one from Team Rod, the other from Verve ActiveJet. But I tell you what, when these 3 riders start swapping turns like they're doing at the moment, you have to go faster to get across to them. And it's, you know, if there's 3 riders trying to get across it, I don't think they will. And that's why we're seeing, you know, the gap opening ever so slightly. To get across that gap now, it's going to have to be 5 or 6 riders, because they 3 riders are definitely committed to try and break the back of the peloton. As we say, that's 6 riders now detached. 6 can go across, but any more than that I don't think it'll be possible. As Christian Knaes just swings over, everybody looking behind, so it does look as if they 3 riders will possibly make the break of the day.
So are those 3 riders going to hang on out front inside 50 kilometres to go? That is less than 50 kilometres left in a stage of just 57.3 kilometres, and the bunch spreads wide across the road as there's a little bit of a stall, presenting these 3 riders with the opportunity. Look at how motivated Max Rackesi is. He's still got his winter jacket on. Stuyven too with the gilet. Riders trying to make their way across. Jonas Koch is getting on for an hour down, so clearly not a threat on general classification, but he's going to try and see what he can do.
Well, I think he's missed the boat, Declan. The 3 riders are committed, and the gap was opening, and as we said, 6 riders could possibly go across that gap, and then it would be too many, and Astana would try and shut it down. But 3 riders, they can afford to let them go. None of them really any danger in the overall. You can see Peter Sagan right at the back here, the world champion. Not really worried about the points competition. So the 3 riders will go, I think, to the bottom of the climb now. But unfortunately for Koch, it was too late to go. The riders had already gone down the road, and I don't think anybody could possibly go across to these riders now.
Well, it's not much of a gap, is it? So it looks as if the bunch have decided to wake up a little bit. Just for a moment it looked as if they might have been satisfied with this, but now they've started to stretch it thin again, and I've seen a few teams that didn't make this one and have had the instruction that they've got to make sure they're in any sort of an early break. I wonder what sort of a group are going to be out front when they get to the bottom of that climb. Will they have any advantage whatsoever? Team Astana on the front. It's a surprise.
Yeah, they're just trying to control things. These are another 3 riders trying to come across. Reinhard Jansi van Rensburg is there. You've got legs of, I think that's Kaiser. But within 1 kilometre, in fact, the 3 riders in front, Rackesi, Stuyven and Kort Nielsen, will pretty much be on this sprint very quickly. As we start to see them now, they're still working well together. Magnus Kort Nielsen at the front, Rackesi looks behind, and interesting to see that Ethics Quickstep are putting another one in this chasing group behind.
Coming to the first of 2 classified sprints of the afternoon, and I don't think Rackesi's going to worry too much about this. He's going to be more minded to make sure that he's keeping this group away. Magnus Kort Nielsen at the back here, Max Rackesi in the centre for Ethics Quickstep. And will Rackesi make sure that he takes this points? This is going to put it beyond doubt. 22 points on offer, that's the maximum haul that anyone can achieve today. 6 points from this one will mean that Max Rackesi is now in an unassailable position, and now he's going to think about just worrying about whether this breakaway group has an opportunity. 11 seconds is the indication between the 3 riders up front and the large peloton, with riders clipping off trying to get involved, so it's still not a done deal by any means. Early stages, Rackesi's got his points ahead of Magnus Kort Nielsen and Jasper Stuyven, neither of whom were even slightly interested in that. Little bit of a gain on overall time as well, 3 seconds for Max Rackesi, again completely insignificant. At the sights and scenes over the Nuss clusters, lots of construction at this time of year, as you might imagine. We're in a famous ski resort. The sun comes out, it seldom is wonderful, isn't it? Group starting to expand their advantage. Inside 45 kilometres remaining on the final stage of the Tour de Suisse. Max Rackesi takes the points on offer Like the first intermediate sprint, he'll have another one coming up. He's done the job. Now it's all about trying to get up the road and stay up the road.
Yeah, they're still committed. By taking that 6 points, it means that he's won the points competition. So obviously Peter Sagan at the back of the peloton now. So Ricchesi is wrapped up that competition just in the first, because we started the day, the difference between Sagan and Ricchesi were 18 points. That now moves up to 24 points with only 16 points on offer. So Ricchesi will be on the podium at the end of today's stage. Another team we mentioned, Francais de Dieu, have nothing from this race. So they're getting involved with the chase. Kevin Reza is in there, Michael Gowash. Another team we mentioned, the teams that we thought would get involved: Katusha, Orica, Sky, Lampre, Dimension Data, Francais de Dieu. They've all been trying to get there. Reinhard Janssen van Rensburg has been trying to get in the breakaway. So it does look as if another 3 riders, one Sky rider, Gowash, Reza for Francais de Dieu, and I think it's one of the orange jerseys of the CCC trying to go across to them.
Geraint Thomas for Team Sky, sitting 8th overall, 1 minute and 30 seconds back from the race lead. It's been a little bit of an up and down week for the Sky man. The man from Wales, who has a teammate up the road now. Golesh trying to winch himself across. Kevin Reza is with them. CCC Sprande Polkowice, another team that could do with a decent result. There's Maciej Peterski. Great pair of legs to have in this group. He's a very strong rider. They now in between themselves and the group of 3 up front. So will they be able to make some inroads on Ricchesi, Magnus Cort? Look at that, 61 kilometers an hour. It's ever so slightly downhill on the way to this one and only climb of the day, and that's contributing to an amazing speed. But look at Magnus Cort Nielsen settling into a massive gear. Jasper Stuyven on his wheel, comfortably in there as anyone could possibly be comfortably, and look at how close they run. They really are talented men, aren't they, that they're literally millimeters apart at 60 kilometers an hour plus. Yeah, they're comfortable.
It's nice roads. There's nobody kind of dodging holes or bumps or anything like that. They know what the roads are like here, and they've got confidence in each other. Yeah, it's one of the great benefits of racing in Switzerland. There have been some discussions about how the finishes have been designed, and certainly the organisers taking all that on board, but it's been a billiard table smooth surface for them. Look at that newly resurfaced tarmac road there. They really put out all the stops at this bike race. They're very proud of their heritage in cycle racing. They're very proud of their nation, and well they might be, with so many alpine peaks in the region. It really is an extraordinary topography that is presented to you every morning when you pull the curtains back in your hotel and go, wow, what an extraordinary place. It's all chocolate box covers. That's the images you're getting. That's the images for the riders as well, as they sweep through this series of S-bends towards this climb of the day, rushing along at a pace almost matched by the river alongside. And that's the gap, that's the visuals. Are they sweeping out of sight, out of mind? Just over 40 kilometers left in the stage now, just over 25 miles. And those 3 riders up front with a 17-second advantage. Ricchesi sitting on the back, still wearing his winter jacket. He's going to carry that one. That windsock suggesting heading into a bit of a headwind. You wouldn't know it by the pace of them. No, the pace has been up, but they've not been given any leeway by the peloton. Still very active. We're averaging well over 50 k's an hour at the moment, and Stuyven trying to get a little bit of shelter behind that photograph motorbike in front. But Ricchesi, as I said, he's taking the first sprint. There's another sprint of the day. All he has to do is get to the finish, and he'll be on the podium taking the final black jersey, the points jersey of the Tour de Suisse. We're inside 40 kilometres to go on the 9th and final stage of the Tour of Switzerland. The 3-rider group up front, just inside 20 seconds their advantage, racing towards that final hill. And at the back of the group, touring along as best he can, is Vasil Kirienka, the world's time trial champion. Not interested in getting involved in this. He will try and marshal and police fares for Geraint Thomas when they hit the hill, I should say. I think these 3 riders of Stuyven, Magnus Corneliusson and Ricasey were hoping that they would give them some minutes, maybe a couple of minutes before we hit this climb, but it isn't meant to be. And Astana are putting some troops towards the front of the peloton in the aqua blue, and you got to remember that in the mountains Lopez was isolated apart from Scarponi, and I think that's going to be the case today as well as soon as we hit this climb. So I think for a lot of the Astana team, they just have to ride on the front to the bottom of this climb, because that's their job, and their job will be pretty much finished when we start climbing, because I don't think any of them have shown the capability of riding with Lopez in the climbs. So when we do hit the climb, it'll be interesting to see who decides to go on the attack first.
Peter Veening is at the back of the group for Team Rumpa, number 201 there. He's got a stage win under his belt already this week. What a fantastic performance from the Dutch Pro Continental team. They've got the mountains jersey courtesy of Anton Tolhoek, and of course that wonderful stage success. And the Astana team on the front of the peloton now, setting a tempo that they're relatively comfortable with. Their yellow jersey, race leader, nestling in the centre of the bunch there. I think he might still have his rain jacket on at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of them wearing quite a lot of clothes. Some others have got less clothes on. I think Antoine Tolhoek, the King of the Mountains leader, and possibly, as I said, he only has to get to the finish today, and he'll be winning the King of the Mountains. He's an unassailable lead. Is in a skin suit, so he's prepared to race. But as I said, this weather condition is good in the valley, but we've got a brute of a climb to come up of the Fluela Pass to come.
It is a brute of a climb, 13 kilometres in total. And now we come to the second sprint of the day, coming up very shortly, with the three riders on the front going to take it. Here we are, 37.2 kilometres remaining as we arrive at the second classified sprint of the day on the final stage of the Tour de Suisse 2016, the final sprint. And that honour goes to Max Ricasey. He's got a black points jersey on underneath that rain jacket. He's piling on the pressure, trying to maximise his advantage, heading to the final climb of the day, which begins with 30 kilometres left in the stage, so they're just over 6 kilometres from reaching the bottom of that hill. Ricasey ahead of Magnus Corneliusson and Jasper Stuyven. That is the distribution of the final intermediate points of the 2016 Tour de Suisse.
Well, they're still not hanging about at the moment, all three riders contributing, and I think the attacks have finished at the front of the peloton. Everybody just happy now to allow these three riders to go, and Astana just controlling things. They say they calm before the storm as you go through that point, and just around about 40 seconds now. So that is the break of the day. Some other teams were trying to get them across to them, but to go across to these three riders, you're going to need 5 or 6 riders contributing, because this gap is starting to creep up every kilometre it goes by. But I don't think they
haven't got enough kilometres before the bottom of the hill.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think they're going to get enough time before this Fluela Pass to any of them to think about a stage win, because we're going to see a GC battle. And you got to remember 10, 6 and 4 in the finishing line, and Talansky, if he wins the stage, and Hawks is a small group, and if he wins the stage and Lopez finishes outside the top 3 but in that group, then he'll take the Tour de Suisse. That's how close it is.
Yeah, the bonus seconds could well come into play if it is a small group and Andrew Talansky feels that he's got an opportunity. To be sure that he'll be trying to do that. These riders battling wind, battling the gradient, battling the other riders remaining in the Tour de Suisse, and trying to increase their advantage. It's going to have to be a lot more than 44 seconds when they reach the bottom of the hill if they're to have any chance of surviving to the top. They probably need several minutes.
Yeah, we'll only get 5 kilometres. I can't see them getting to much over a minute, even if it gets to that. A minute in the next 5 kilometres, because the peloton are just riding a good tempo. Astana controlling things towards the front. You see Trek coming up, also Team Dimension Data. They're really looking to try and get something for Nathaniel Bahani. up to Solden at the bottom of the climb. He had a wheel change and, you know, kind of battled back. I think he's sitting roughly about 20th overall, but, you know, Nat Nail was very capable of trying to get a stage win here, and you know, an impressive 25-year-old Eritrean rider, and that would be very welcome for Team Dimension Data. But there's other teams in this race that want a stage win, but as I said, it's going to be hard fought today.
There's Antoine Tolhoek in his skin suit. Or did he just keep the numbers pinned on his skin suit for the time trial yesterday, throw it in the wash, and just settled on that one? I tell you what, he's a brave man. It's going to get cold. Will he regret that? I do think he has got a winter jacket. You see a little hump in his back there that's created by Lycra. The team's starting to get organised and trying to get into position, I suspect, to present their riders into the perfect position at the bottom of the hill.
I think everybody was really apprehensive and nervous at the start. You could see that, and you know, there was a flurry of attacks, and you know, they were really going at it. Ethics have succeeded in getting Ricchesi there. Gaviria tried to help him, but you know, 3 strong riders in front: Ricchesi, Stuyven and Magnus Cort Nielsen. So everybody's happy with that, because none of them are a threat to the overall. So you've got the teams now starting to form at the front of the peloton. In the middle, you've got Lawrence Tendam looking after Frolinger's just behind him, with Warren Barguil on the wheel. On the right-hand side, you know, Kelderman's team of Lotto NL Jumbo. In the middle, you've got the leaders' team of Astana on the aqua blue. On the left-hand side, you see the green helmets, Castro Viejo coming up for Movistar, looking after Jon Izagirre. The only team kind of missing at this moment is Cannondale in the lime green. Otherwise, you'd have all the 4 top contenders sitting in front of the peloton. But very impressed with these 3 riders. You know, never say die, really riding as hard as they can, and they know they've got a brute of a climb to climb in the next few kilometres.
Well, on a long road stage, you'd often see the peloton literally switch off and maybe take a natural break or whatever, and just completely, and then the gap can race up several minutes within a few kilometres. But they just don't, well, they don't need any of the natural breaks. They don't need any breaks whatsoever. And of course, the riders are starting to sort of mass towards the front of the field, and that tends to bring on a little bit of extra impetus in the bunch, as Stuyven nearly gets
well, it's important, Declan, that Astana take control of the race, and that's what they've tried to do. They don't have to. Said the riders that are in front, Ricchesi, Stuyven and Magnus Cort Nielsen, are nowhere in the overall, but it's a show of strength. But the other teams are starting to come up and starting to boss the front of the peloton, and Astana are starting to kind of drift back a little bit now. Just as we said, Cannondale weren't there, they come up to the front. So on the right hand side, you see Giant Alpecin looking after Barguil. Elminga's been looked after by IAM. In the middle, you've got the lime green jerseys of Talansky's team of Cannondale. Next to them, you've got Astana and the kind of aqua blue. And on the left hand side, you've got Kelderman's team of Lotto NL Jumbo.
So YAM Cycling showing towards the front. They've got the 5th place man on general classification, Jarlinson Pantano, one of 2 Colombians, and the race being led by Miguel Angel Lopez of Colombia as he awaits the final big dramatic test. We've got a climb coming up at 30 kilometres to go on this, the final stage of the Tour of Switzerland. Team Lotto NL Jumbo on the right hand side of the bunch. Sorry, left hand side of the bunch, right hand side of the picture just a few moments ago. The riders at the back of the group are just touring along. Well, I say touring along at about 50 kilometres an hour. Almost a minute advantage now for the 3 riders up front. It's not going to be enough, but they're not giving up either. Great to see that sort of ambition. At the back, Hook Doyne has plenty of wet gear, doesn't he? He's got long gloves. A lot of the riders nervous about the weather conditions that are going to face them when they hit the bottom of this hill.
Yeah, you just see Pantano just getting into formation. His IAM team looking after him. In the middle, you can see Tyler Ferrer just looking around to see where Nat Nail Bahani is. They want to start at the front of this, this GC battle. And Tendam doing a really good job. He's got Frolinger behind him over on the left-hand side in the black. But these 3 riders still swapping turns. Not reached a minute yet. And we've only got just less than a kilometre to the bottom of this climb now.
So Max Ricchesi, 33 years of age, the first Argentinian stage winner in Tour de Suisse history, coming back from that broken femur. at the beginning of the year in the Tour de San Luis, and coming back in style to get a World Tour stage victory. Magnus Cort Nielsen really enjoyed the step up to World Tour level in the last couple of years. And a great plan B in sprinting terms for Orica Greenedge this week. Michael Matthews not on absolute top sprinting form, still in the race. Now we finally pick out Miguel Angel Lopez Moreno. You can see that yellow flash at the bottom. He's got a gilet at the moment, that blue Astana gilet. But I assure you there is a yellow jersey on underneath that. Hopefully we'll see that before the end of the stage.
You can also see just on the right hand side Geraint Thomas trying to move up for Team Sky. So all the GC contenders up towards the front, their teammates are looking after them, because I think when we get to this climb it's going to be a battle, and their job will be pretty much done.
So 30 kilometers to go, 54 seconds the advantage. We're in the final stage of the Tour of Switzerland 2016. The crowds are out in force as they await the riders on this, the final big climb of the year. We're on the Fluela Pass and making our way down towards Davos Clusters. We've got 13 kilometers of climbing to do, though, at an average of 7.4%, maximum of over 10% in places along this route. And they charge into this finish climb, this last climb, with Team Lotto NL Jumbo on the front, trying to look after things for Wilco Kelderman.
Yeah, that was just crazy. As it's all to get their team leader into the best possible place, and that's their effort done. And they'll just drift back now into the peloton and try and get over the pass as best as possible. And just see the Lotto NL Jumbo rider just disappearing on the left hand side. But it's Bram Tankink. It's right up towards the front. He's a very experienced rider, so it does look as if they want to set a very good tempo up here. I'm not too sure if Kelderman can take enough time back, certainly for the overall, but you can just see all the bottles being jettisoned. I can't even say that word. Being thrown, jettisoned. You're just thrown to the side of the road there, because they don't want to carry them up this mountain. But you can just see the pace is really on at the front of the peloton, and that's purely because they're set up for this battle, and it's going to be a battle. But like I said, it's a GC battle, but there's a stage one still up for grabs.
Well, Wilco Kelderman, what a great recovery from him, because he had such a difficult day on the Rettenbach Ferner a few days ago in Austria. Vicious climb, not able to hang on to his yellow jersey, and but he did recover yesterday and finished an impressive fourth on the stage, 21 seconds back from Jon Izagirre. No one to touch him. Within 2 seconds of the great Fabian Cancellara was Kelderman. So Kelderman obviously has recovered. This is a short stage, it's on offer. Jasper Stuyven, Magnus Cort Nielsen, and they'll soon be back. Now the bunch is stretched in one long line, and riders already going out the back. It's must feel like such an unusual road race for riders used to stages. The maximum stage length this week, 224 kilometers on that road in Austria. This is a very different kettle of Virginias. Team Katusha, of course, have Simon Spilak sitting 9th overall at 1 minute and 31 seconds. But, Spilak not going to get the victory this year. Disappointment for him.
Yeah, Kazunchuk is the rider from Katusha here, trying to try and inspire people to start racing in this climb. Katusha have been on the attack already in this race. We've seen Mamikin try something up Solden, but that was just to try and soften things up for Spilak. Katusha, one of the teams that really could do with a stage win. So is Orica Greenedge, Sky, Lamprey, Dimension Data, France Edu. They've all been trying, but I tell you what, it's going to be mad in the next few kilometres, because Astana are trying to get control of the peloton, but you can just see that other teams are trying to go on the attack. Kazunchuk is only a matter of a few metres, but just look at the numbers around Lopez now. He's only got 2 teammates as riders start to disappear out the rear of the peloton.
Well, Max Verkayze's not going to repeat his climbing heroics from a few days ago, but Jasper Stuyven is minded to try it, the winner of Kuurne Brussels Kuurne this year. Of course, took great stage success in Vuelta a España last year. And Stuyven, many people talking about him as a real superstar of the future. Already he's got a very impressive Palmares, but he's been happy and content to work in the service of Fabian Cancellara, particularly as it's Cancellara's last year at his home race. But now he's been given an opportunity with Cancellara already retired from this event. Stuyven is trying to see what he can do about hanging on ahead of the peloton, perhaps joining a group, and 30 seconds is his advantage, but a long way to go on this hill. Stuyven certainly is an impressive talent. We see what he's like as a climber, but he is an emerging star.
When you're strong enough, you can get up mountains. Maybe not as fast as some of the mountain goats, but you know, he's certainly feeling good today. Managed to get in the breakaway, but you know, with only 28 seconds, it's not going to be enough. He would love to have maybe 2 minutes when we started this climb, but it isn't to be. As we see the yellow jersey, removed his gilet, so he's up there on the left-hand side. But Talansky is up there also, and so are both. Gorkas up towards the front, being looked after by winner Anacona, and just on the left hand side you can see Jon Izagirre as well. TJ Van Garden's up there. Vakoc has been riding well this race as well. Kirienka just moving up in the right hand side to try and help Geraint Thomas.
Meanwhile, other riders going south, groups starting to establish themselves on the road. Geschke has done his work for Giant Alpecin, as indeed has Michael Scher, the Swiss rider. And there's a few moments ago we saw Kazanchuk on the attack. Now he's at the back door and just thinking about making it home to the bus. Riders from Verba Active Jet haven't really been able to make much of an impact. Nances de Jeu's been a quiet race for them. Jasper Stuyven, a shrinking advantage, still doing a solid job, standing now on the front of the peloton. The overall race leader sitting second in line as he seeks to preserve his slender 8-second advantage over Andrew Talansky. Talansky in the green is nestling in amongst a couple of teammates in about, what, 10th or 11th position. We've got a couple of the Movistar riders. They have got Jon Izagirre sitting third at 16 seconds. Gorka Izagirre, his brother, has been in the top 10 for much of the week. He slipped out of that yesterday, but he's well to the fore, and he's the right rider to try and help Jon Izagirre into a position to try and attack. Or here comes Stuyven. Won't be long before he's back. Just not quite the same power to weights advantages on the slopes, which, as I say, stretch over 10% in places on the hill. It's a fairly constant climb. After a couple of kilometers at 7.2, 9.2, then it levels off ever so slightly to 5%, and then a grippy little one at 10%, and then a series of kilometers between 8 and 9%. It's by any measure a very, very difficult climb, only really for the superstar climbers, and it's been a race of significant altitude this year, Brian. A very climby one, as they might say.
Yeah, they started with a prologue, and then we had 3 kind of punchier stages for the sprinters, and then straight into the mountains. The weather has taken its toll, so it's been a very difficult Tour de Suisse. But Scarponi, the only teammate left for Lopez, the yellow jersey, is doing a good job. And you know, the longer this continues, you know, the happier Astana will be. You can just see the dark blue jerseys behind of Movistar. They have to start thinking, you know, what can we do? And I think, you know, with the top of the climb coming in just about 10 kilometres time, it will mean that you know, they'll use up Scarponi. They'll just let him sit at the front of this dwindling group of GC contenders, and allow him just to wear himself out, try and isolate Lopez, and probably attack him within the last 5 kilometres of the top of this climb.
Well, Martin Elmiger still just about in the bunches, sliding off the back with Peter Vakoc of Eric's Quickstep, and Michael Scher, I think we saw him going a little bit earlier, so Elmiger is controlling that advantage in the best Swiss rider competition, 3 minutes and 38 seconds. He needs to at least be mindful. Still, Jasper Stuyven hangs on ahead, as now we start to see a little bit of activity on the front of the bunch.
Yeah, they don't want to give Astana their own way, and it was just settling down now. They weren't bringing Stuyven back that quickly, which means the tempo wasn't as. So David Lopez has decided to go on the attack. They want to try and stretch this out. This is the final day. There is only a matter of seconds between the kind of top 4 riders. There's a stage one up for grabs. I don't think there'll be a huge reaction because David Lopez is really chasing a stage one rather than either helping Geraint Thomas or thinking of the GC, so they can afford to let David Lopez go. A very talented and gifted climber towards the end of his career, and very capable of getting a stage one for Sky today.
So Vasil Kirienka, doesn't look like it's going to happen for him today, as his teammate David Lopez has decided to try his luck off the front. Lopez sitting 38th overall at 34 minutes and change, 34 minutes and 33 seconds. Suffice it to say, he's not a threat overall. Scarponi and co are not going to be really all that interested or worried or concerned, so Lopez just trying to tap out a rhythm that carries him clear of this group. It's a dwindling group, not too many left in it already. 10 kilometres, just under 10 kilometres, a little bit over 9 kilometres now from the summit of this climb. Summit is reached with 17.7 kilometres remaining in the stage. Now the group of top riders whittled down to not much more than 20.
Well, Scarponi is not really wanting David Lopez to go, and Lopez is possibly thinking, there's two scenarios here. Either Geraint Thomas is feeling good and he could probably fire across to him in the final few kilometres of this climb and descend and try and take some time back and move up in the general classification. Or he's just thinking of trying to do something with regards to potential stage one.
It'd be a nice return from the week for Team Sky. They went in with overall ambitions courtesy of Geraint Thomas, who was second in this race last year, but hasn't quite worked out for Geraint. But nonetheless, he seems in reasonable shape for looking after Chris Froome in July. It'll be interesting to see what form that Geraint Thomas takes to the Nationals next week. I presume he's going to be involved. Now with Darwin Adapuma to the fore for Team BMC. TJ Van Garderen on his wheels, so that is something that Scarponi needs to be mindful of. Has a little look around and finds his yellow jersey teammate Miguel Angel Lopez is not all that near the front.
Yeah, it just wasn't fast enough, and TJ wanted it to be faster. He's already won a stage, thinking of moving up in the overall and thinking of another stage. He had a bad stage into I think it was Amden when he lost a few, almost a minute or more when he cracked in that climb, but he seems to have recovered since then, and TJ Van Garderen thought that Scarponi just riding too slowly and wanted to up the tempo and put the other GC contenders in a little bit of trouble.
Well, this is exactly what we want to see. This is the first challenge really that we've seen on this climb. It's a long way to go to the summit of the climb, but great to see TJ Van Garderen put a rider on the front, decide that they're going to try and see if they can put this man under a little bit of pressure. He looks okay at the moment, Miguel Angel Lopez, but only he knows exactly what sensations that he's got in his legs. Just 22 years of age, Miguel Angel Lopez racing to glory in the Tour de Suisse, or is he? He's been picked for these for the Colombian national team for the Olympics coming up in August. He's not lined up for the Tour de France. But the Vuelta, I think, could well be on the agenda. His first 3-week stage race in the offing for a 22-year-old. And Colombians abound towards the front of this peloton. Darwin Adapuma has a stage win to his credit. That busy climbing style.
Just saw that one of the Katusha riders came up there, looked as if it might have been Mamakin, and just looked over to Simon Spilak to say, he gave the the throttle sign as if to say, do you want me to go to the front to lift the tempo up? We started the climb with Astana controlling things with Scarponi. It wasn't fast enough. The GC riders want a battle here, and they want to use their teammates up to make it very difficult. You can see Adapuma stretching this lead group out. We're still, a long way to go to the top of this climb. Just over 8 kilometres, so a long way to the top. But the GC contenders want it hard enough so that when we come to the top, it begin man against man. We've got this tricky descent we go round the town of Davos and finish where the time trial finished yesterday, but it does look as if TJ's up for a fight today.
Going to start to swing around a bit at the back, aren't they, Bowman, from Team Lotto and El Yumbo, hoping that the pace might relent a little bit, and Adapuma finds himself off the front. And now the reaction from Katusha and from Team Movistar.
Well, this is interesting development now. TJ has decided that well, it's going to slip back a little bit. They let the gap go, and you know, Lopez is there. As we said all along, there's a stage win still up for grabs. Atapuma's already got one, but strangely enough, TJ has decided, well, maybe if I'm not going to get the GC, another stage win for the likes of Atapuma might be, you know, on the cards. He seemed to be riding well today. As more riders, Nathaniel Bahani joins this group. Winner Anacona's there. We've already said Lamprey need to get in the mix as well. So a small group thinking of the stage one now. No GC real threats of this group, but certainly riders thinking of a stage one early on this climb.
Jorge Arcas is in there as well for Team Movistar. They're in flying form all week, standing out, taking position on the front once more, courtesy of Michele Scarponi of the yellow jersey group, but they'll perhaps be content, Scarponi and Miguel Angel Lopez, with the fact that Team Cannondale and Andrew Talansky haven't really shown to the front so far. Sitting on the wheel of the yellow jersey, who's second in line there of that jersey group. Looks like they're already back to those attackers.
Yeah, Scarponi closing us down, but you know, with all this happening, we still got David Lopez hanging out the front for Team Sky. So you know, that acceleration from Darwin Atapuma is not really kind of dented the lead that Lopez has got. So it just goes to show you, with this GC group, the yellow jersey group kind of strung out with Frank Schleck at the back here, Lopez is still doing a very good ride in front.
Frank Schleck, a former winner of this race, not really able to relive old glories in the climb so far this week. Rui Costa sitting 10th overall, three-time winner of this race from 2012 through to 2014. And there is the hero of yesterday, Ion Izagirre, unstoppable in the time trial. Warren Bargui not too far from the front. And Lopez being attended to by Michele Scarponi. Scarponi having a very strong Giro d'Italia. Now Adapuma goes again, but finds that this group has been towed back up by Scarponi. Adapuma happy to set the tempo on the front and just stay there, making it as difficult as possible for Lopez.
Yeah, that's what his job is, and that's what they decided to do. They're not going to leave it all up to Scarponi, because the longer Scarponi controls things, the easier it is for Lopez. But you know, the tempo's still on. You just look, you know, they're not riding up this climb in a group. They're riding it up at a very good tempo, and you know, David Lopez is still hanging out there, so he's obviously got very good legs.
No signs of activity yet from Andrew Talansky. How do Cannondale play it?
I think the GC contenders are going to wait. They are going to use their teammates up on this climb to look after them. I think we're going to see attacks towards the top of the climb, but we're still just under 7 kilometres to go to the top of this climb, so it gets harder towards the top of this climb. I'm expecting the GC contenders just sitting and waiting, but they're actually using up their teammates to make sure that it's hard enough.
David Lopez, now 35 years of age, leads the field by 23 seconds, but still quite a bit of this climb remaining. The final climb of the Tour de Suisse 2016. Lopez, that punchy style, not dissimilar to the man just in front of him, Darwin Adapuma. A lot of movement on the bike, but very effective in terms of getting the pressure on the pedals. Adapuma just dropping back a little bit, as Mamikin it is that's setting this tempo. He's giving it some throttle.
Yeah, he came back before and said, you know, asked Spilak if he, you know, wanted to go to the front and keep the tempo up, which means that, you know, there's going to be a GC battle, that's for sure. But there's a stage one. There's a lot of riders haven't got anything from this. A lot of teams haven't got anything. Trek won the first stage with Cancellara. Tinkoff 2 stages. Lucchese with Ethics, Atapuma BMC winning with Rompot, TJ won up Solden, and Davos Time Trial yesterday with Movistar, which means that as you see one of the AG2R riders just swing out there, couldn't hold this tempo of Mamakin. It means like teams like Katusha, Orica, Green Edge, Sky, Lamprey, Dimension Data, France de Dieu haven't got a lot to shout about in this used Tour de Suisse, and they want to try and get something out of it today.
I'm not sure that Atapuma is not struggling a little bit. Or perhaps he was just trying to drop back into the group to find TJ Van Garder and bring him back up. It looked as if he might have been struggling. We'll get full realisation and confirmation of that very shortly. On our way to Davos Clusters, and we're up the final climb of the week, the Fluela Pass. Working our way up the hill to a summit of 2,383 metres. Fluela Pass, a regular appearance on the Tour de Suisse over the years. 17th occasion that this race has gone over the Fluela Pass, one of the more popular climbs in the race. Popular, that is, in terms of the race organiser, maybe not with some of the sprinters. Lopez, his gap almost completely eradicated at this point. Arcas, we saw him to the front for a little while ago. And just about to drop out the back. Now AG2R Le Mondial, what can they possibly drag back out of this race? They've led it, of course, courtesy of Pierre-Roger Latour for one day, picked up a chest infection, and they weren't going to risk the health of the 22-year-old, so Pierre-Roger Latour has been retired from the race a couple of days, so now AG2R Le Mondial searching for stage glory. Lopez with a little bit of a lifeline, and that's Hubert Dupont, a good climber. 23 minutes down, so not a threat on overall. Still a man with decent facility on the climbs. Will he be able to open up enough of an advantage before, as we anticipate, things really kick off? Lopez not going to be able to follow that pace. Spilak has, well, there are 3 Katusha to the 4, so they have strength in numbers at the moment.
Yeah, I think they're looking at moving up in the overall, and that's why they're keeping the tempo going, because if you look at this group with David Lopez on the attack, thinking of possibly a stage win, whereas we look into this group, there is absolutely no Geraint Thomas in this group for Team Sky, so obviously with Spilak sitting behind Geraint Thomas, there's an opportunity here. Just as we say that, Spilak looks as if he's decided that he wants to try something today.
Well, the reigning champion Simon Spilak's not going to give it up without a fight. There are opportunities to move up, maybe a stage win on offer. 1 minute and 31 seconds back on overall time. He's well inside the top 10. Well, he's 9th, so he's one place inside the top 10, but for Spilak, seems a bit of a long shot for overall, but certainly a stage win is on offer. And he's opened his jersey. Too many other riders doing that on this hill in these weather conditions. He joins Hubert Dupont of AG2R. And that is a much smaller group. Scarponi, is he still in there? I did see he was starting to suffer towards the back of the group. I think it could well be that our race leader is a little isolated at the moment.
Yeah, he will be isolated. It's been a hard tempo. Rui Costa now joining the trio in front, and it's been a bit of a surprise that Geraint Thomas has slipped out the back of this main GC group, and that's probably why David Lopez was given his own opportunity to try and do something in this climb. But obviously he's back in the fold now. So as we said, a lot of these teams, these are 3 of the teams we've already mentioned that haven't really had too much to shout about in this race. But just look who's coming up behind Jarlis and Pantano.
Well, that is interesting, because Pantano is just 52 seconds back, so this is starting to get a little bit of a concern for the overall race leader. Lopez responds, goes out of the group. Is anyone going to be able to follow him? And that is significant. Attack being the best form of defence.
Yeah, big acceleration, and he does look good. He's coming across this gap very quickly. He wanted to react, but Did he have to react?
Is that impetuous from the young man heading towards what could be a first national stage race victory of his career? Of course, he has taken Tour de l'Avenir, so he knows how to win a big development race. This another level up again. It's a World Tour event, and Lopez has decided that he is attack-minded. That is a surprise, but it is exciting as he catches and overtakes Hubert Dupont. Very shortly, we'll be joining up with Pantano, Costa, and Spilak. Dupont gets the extra impetus, and very shortly we could have 5 up front, including the yellow jersey of overall race leader Lopez. Will these riders ride with him? And TJ Van Garderen has responded.
Yeah, it's people are showing their cards. People are just sitting back and waiting. Movistar are just sitting there with Jon Izagirre. TJ comes up, and yes, all starting to happen. There's still a good 4 kilometres left of this climb, so with the Lopez shutting things down, he definitely is isolated with TJ Van Garderen just passing Dupont now and coming up to the yellow jersey group.
Yeah, Dupont is struggling. I don't think he's going to be able to follow this pace, but Lopez finds himself on the front, setting the agenda, setting the tempo, trying to put more time between himself and Andrew Talansky. Could it be that Talansky's struggling a little bit, or Cannondale playing their cards a little closer to their chest and maybe just a little bit more sensible about it? This is the way it's playing out on the final hill of the Tour de Suisse, and it is absolutely fascinating fare. That's something we didn't expect to see.
Yeah, the other rider that hasn't come into play yet is Warren Barguil of Giant Alpecin, so he's just kind of sitting there waiting, or does he have sore legs? Very difficult with these mountain stages, and then obviously having a time trial yesterday. Hopefully we can try and pick these riders up, but Movistar riding there. Dombrovskis in second place, Talansky's there, Warren Barguil's there, Jon Izagirre is sitting there. I think this is Winner Anna at the front. Zap Paterski, Cheslik, and then you've got some riders just trying to get in there. So some riders have disappeared. Noticeably from the top 10 is Geraint Thomas. So Janetsky is there, and there could be some movements. It's just disappointing that Geraint has battled, but today in this very short stage he's nowhere to be seen.
Disappointing too for Wilco Kelderman, sitting 6th overall at 1 minute and 21 seconds. The Lotto NL Jumbo man, erstwhile race leader, is dropping out of the back of that group. Lopez looking nervously behind him. He's clearly full of fight. He's got great legs this week, but does he want to commit with still several kilometres to go to the top of this hill? So about 3.4 kilometres by my reckoning, so still 3,400 metres of tough climbing action. That's a long, long way. When you're on a climb like this, Rui Costa's feeling the heat. Feeling the heat on a very cold mountain. Spilak too, at a pace that Lopez finds more comfortable than them. Behind, Winner Anacona, looking after the tempo, and it looks like he's closing this one at a sensible, gradual rate for the riders chasing. Sander Armé is out the back for Lotto Soudal, and so too Hubert Dupont of AG Tour Le Mondial, who was up the road not so long ago.
So as we look at the top 10, Lopez, Talansky, Jon Izagirre, Warren Barguil, Pantano are all there. Kelderman in 6th place, he's disappeared. Van Garderen's there. 8th place, Geraint Thomas has disappeared. Spilak is there. So Rui Costa rounds out the top 10. So 8 of the 10 top 10 overnights are still in this race, still in with a battle. But Lopez certainly riding at the front with Pantano and TJ Van Garderen, and looks very good at this moment.
Well, no great rain as we get closer to the summit, but just starting to see little spots of rain on the lens, so clearly it's pretty cold up there. Lopez, though, stomping away on the pedals. Van Garderen is equal to the challenge at the moment. Jarlinson Pantano is hunched over his bars. Looks like he needs a little bit of extra concentration. Behind, at a distance now, Rui Costa. A little bit further behind him, Simon Spilak has been dragged back by the Cannondale and Movistar-led group. A shake of the head from Van Garderen. No, I'm not going to help you.
Well, he doesn't have to. It's the yellow jersey in the leading group, and TJ is thinking, well, I'm not going to take any time back. He's 1 minute and 26 seconds behind him. He cannot, I don't think, possibly take that amount of time back. So he's just shaking the head. He's just happy to be there. He'll keep a good position in the overall, but I think TJ is thinking of a possible stage win here.
We're on the epically beautiful Fluela Pass. This road dates back since 1867. They had various different pass roads across here since 2000 BC. Would you believe signs of Bronze Age archaeology have been discovered in this region? And after all the shake of the heads, then Van Garderen goes to the front.
Yeah, because it settled down. It was difficult when Lopez was riding there. It was a little bit difficult, and he wasn't going to push it on. When it gets a little bit easier, like it is at the moment, he'll do his turn. But you know, former yellow jersey Warren Barkley, you know, difficult time trial yesterday, lost a lot of time. Looks to be grimacing now and kind of hanging on to the this kind of chase group. You know, difficult again for, you know, all these riders here is that Dombrowski, you know, has to do a long turn. You can just see Rui Costa, the Portuguese champion for Lampre, just kind of hanging in between the three in front. But this is a difficult time now for some of the GC contenders, especially Talansky and Jon Izagirre. And if they want to try and win this race, they have to show the card soon.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything from Andrew Talansky. Maybe it's just that the tempo is that much higher than he really feels comfortable with. He may not just have the legs to attack if it's possible. Well, he knows he needs to do it pretty soon, because 17.7 will be the summit of the climb. Talansky sitting third in line, the smaller of the two figures in green. He is second placed overall, 8 seconds back from Miguel Angel Lopez, the yellow jersey of this race, who's up the road now with almost 20 seconds of an advantage. That's the first unsealed road we've seen all week. And that is could well be a little bit of a nervous moment, because it's not going to be easy to get service up here if you do pick up a puncture. 17 seconds, it starts to close. Warren Barguil is feeling the pinch. Yep, it looks like he's really suffered after that big effort to get into the yellow jersey a couple of days ago.
It looks like Winner Anacona and Dombrowski at the front of this chase group, trying to, you know, limit the time. 18 seconds now that Lopez has. So it's sometimes very difficult to cross, you know, an unsurfaced road, and you know, it kind of knocks you off your rhythm a bit. And certainly this has happened with Simon Spilak.
Well, Simon Spilak feeling perhaps the folly of that early attack has been dropped by the group who caught him. So now just has to get to the top of the hill as best he can and hope that he's within touching distance. Perhaps he can get back on terms on the descent.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at the moment. I know that Chernetsky is you know, possibly moving into the top 10. That's the rider third from the back in the Katusha team. But I would think that maybe, you know, you would think about maybe kind of dropping back a little bit and helping. But the team orders are team orders, and Chernetsky's sitting at 11th. It does look as if he is moving up in the general classification today. Yeah,
and interesting that Simon Spilak, did he give him the nod and say, off you go? Or is Chernetsky just making a solo decision on that one? Andrew Talansky, we look at his face, he really looks to be suffering, but that is kind of his default look, isn't it? Sometimes he looks even better. Now, what about Miguel Angel Lopez? He's gone on the attack. He's distancing himself now from Jonathan Panzano and TJ Van Garderen in the red of BMC, who's been in flying form this week with a stage victory, but Van Garderen cannot follow the pace of the yellow jersey, who, the way things are going, is going to crest the climb, racing solo to victory, and this is not expected. But Lopez, what an emerging talent he is. What such confidence, clearly in flying form and just getting better.
Yeah, I think that's the word there, getting better. Everybody else is getting tired on tired. He's getting better. Very good, you know, last few days for this rider, and he decided when he came up and he attacked in this climb that maybe he'd gone a little bit too early. He's got absolutely no teammates around about to help him, but sometimes the best defence is attack, and he's certainly doing this now. And Dombrowski is having to ride his heart out yet again for Talansky. No reaction from anybody, but if they want to try and win this race, they have to bring this yellow jersey back before the top of this climb.
Solid job from Joe Dombrowski. His fellow countryman and teammate Andrew Talansky suffering in third place in that group. Now we have the leader of the stage, the leader of the race overall. Lopez well inside the final kilometre, well, just about a kilometre to the summit of this hill, the Fluella Pass. TJ Van Garderen and Jarlinson Pantano getting a little bit concerned now. Through the gloom, they see the yellow jersey disappearing up the road. Well, Lopez heading towards victory in this race, and how dearly he would like a stage win to go with it. It's been very consistent this week. A stage win would be nice.
Yes, he would love a stage win, and to finish it off. Still a long way to go, and we're very close inside the last kilometre, the top of this climb. No reaction from anybody else. TJ Van Garderen and Pantano just trying to kind of hang on. If they can get onto the descent, the two of them could possibly come back to Lopez, but the further up this climb it gets, the bigger the time gaps. Back to 34 seconds to the group led by Dąbrowski for Talansky.
Well, Lopez could, of course, be mindful of the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, Brian, there's just 8 seconds between himself and Talansky and 10 seconds on the line. We could well have a sprint for victory on the stage between a group of non-sprinters, so Talansky would have an opportunity still.
Well, if it all comes back together, there's going to be 12 riders in this group. I don't think Spila can make it back, so there's 9 in the group of Talansky, 2 riders here and 1 in front, so 12 riders in contention for the stage. If it does come back together, then if Talansky does win the group sprints he could take it off. So that's why Lopez, a non-sprinter, has gone out there, has decided to take it from the front. He's within sight of the top of this climb, just about 1 kilometre now. So he wants to crest the summit, get on this tricky descent. But what has Pantano and TJ Van Garderen got left? Because they could possibly try and come back. And a stage win is up for grabs for any of these riders now. Well,
they're feeling pretty warm, but how are they going to feel in a couple of kilometres down when they're well into the descent and it's gravity taking them down the hill? As Van Garderen decides not to take on any extra rainwear. Of course, the likelihood is that within a couple of kilometres, they'll be back out of the rain and into better conditions as they go down the hill. So that's what they've got to hope for. Not too many riders with long-fingered gloves. Miguel Angel Lopez at the front of the race, 25 seconds now. His advantage, a further 13 seconds back to the group containing the second place man in this race, Andrew Talansky. And Lopez not even requiring the top sprocket on his block.
There's just no stopping this man. He looks really easy. Of all the GC contenders, or of everybody in the front of this race, he looks so easy. He just has to be careful on this tricky descent. Because his gap is going up and all the time, and I think it's going to be very difficult to bring him back now, because you've got to remember the riders in this group now will start to think of their second and third place, the podium place, and so I think Lopez, he's shown a clear pair of wheels to everybody, and everybody knows he's the strongest in the day. He's just got stronger and stronger over the last few days, that they'll start to think now of how can I finish second and third in this race.
Bit of a dangerous moment there for Warren Barguil, sitting 4th overall as he finds himself on the wheel of Pavel Cislek, and Cislek seems to be suffering a little bit, so a few little cracks starting to appear in that group as we approach the summit of the climb. Jon Izagirre as well is now going to make his way over to TJ Van Garderen and Jarlinson Pantano, so now just Lopez out front and then the rest of the group behind. At a remove of 45 seconds as he reaches the summit of the climb. It is your overall race leader, Miguel Angel Lopez, has taken on a rain jacket to put on over that yellow jersey, and it's now revised. 35 seconds to the next riders behind. Group of 4 riders.
Interesting, Declan. Victor de la Part has come across here for CCC, so is Jon Izagirre, and if he can descend like his brother the other day, then there's still an opportunity for these riders to come back to Lopez. But just as I say that, Dąbrowski is putting a hell of a ride in there for his team leader Talansky to keep him in contention.
He certainly is. The green of Cannondale to the fore. Izagirre now having gone up the road a little bit. That means that no assistance from winner Anacona. He's been doing a really solid job as well for Team Movistar. As Barguil tries to get himself organised for the descent, finds himself a few bike lengths back, should be able to close that one. Lopez racing solo to glory, racing down the hill to Davos Clusters. He's got about 13 kilometres of descending and then just over 4 kilometres of flat road through to the finish. They hit a railway crossing with 4.4 kilometres to go, so let's hope the express train to Zurich isn't making its appearance at that stage, as we lose the picture, albeit briefly. The group behind now, are they going to be able to close just over half a minute gap to Miguel Angel Lopez?
Well, it depends if Lopez wants to take any risks, because it is a very tricky descent, especially the top third on this side now. So, but there seems to be a bit more of a general regroupment now. Talansky doesn't seem to be liking this descent. Ray Costa wants to obviously come across to this front group. Potentially he is a fast enough sprinter that if it does come back together, there's a stage winner for grabs. But Lopez just has to be very aware. He can't take any risks in this on these corners, because if he slides out, he'll be caught by the chasing group.
So he's able to pick his own line around the corners. I suppose in another way, nobody is marking the road for him, picking out the lines for him. So he's got to be careful. He's also got to be committed. It's a confusing combination for Miguel Angel Lopez. He's racing to glory, and he's got a lot. He's got a lot to be hopeful for. He's got a lot to race for, hasn't he? 45 seconds back, so 15 seconds now between the Izagirre group and the group of Andrew Talansky. Izagirre with an opportunity to move up into second place overall. There were 8 seconds between himself and Izagirre. 8 seconds down, Andrew Talansky starting the day from Miguel Angel Lopez. Izagirre 16 seconds back. Warren Bargui has just about managed to latch onto the back of the Talansky group. He's 18 seconds back. And then Pantano at 52. Kelderman is gone from this group. 1 minute and 21 seconds down. And there's the confirmation of the final mountains points of the year, with Miguel Angel Lopez taking the top points, as befits the man who is in the yellow jersey and has been climbing with such great ease over the last couple of days, particularly this afternoon in the rain, racing down to Davos. There's your yellow jersey, this one, the one on underneath that rain jacket. I can tell you it is dry and it is sunny at the finish line in Davos, so at some stage they are going to emerge out of the mist. How much of this descent is going to be on dry roads? Doesn't look like much of it. Delapart not enjoying the descent too much.
No, there'll be a lot of riders not enjoying the descent, but the riders in front are racing for podium places. It's going to be touch and go whether they actually bring back Lopez. Still some tricky corners to come, but Lopez seems to be kind of holding them at bay. They've only knocked off about 3 or 4 seconds from the top of the climb.
Yeah, so just inside a half a minute advantage now for Miguel Angel Lopez and the group of Jon Izagirre, 3 riders. Jonathan Pantano is in there as well, so too is TJ Van Garderen. And Chernetsky for Team Katusha, with Victor Delapart finding himself just a couple of seconds from the back. The CCC Sprande Polkovice man who won the Tour of Austria in 2015. Not able to take an apex there, and losing another second or two with every hairpin that's presented to him. Still though, he's managing to hold off the riders behind. Big opportunity here for Izagirre to move up.
Also Pantano can move up for IAM, and what a wonderful result that would be for the local team. So Pantano has got a possibility of moving up here, but he really needs to, these gaps to open a little bit wider now.
TJ Van Garderen as well started the day 7th overall, so an opportunity to move up to 6th. Wilco Kelderman distanced on the climb, and just 5 seconds between those 2 riders as they started the day. Winner of the Tour de l'Avenir, as we said, back in 2014. Stage win of Vuelta Burgos in 2015. It's 7th overall in the Tour de Suisse last year, which was the first big signal in World Tour racing that this man had a top future as a stage racer. Miguel Angel Lopez now, well, he's odds-on favourite if he can keep it together on this descent. 23 seconds, they're starting to close it down, so Lopez not taking any huge risks. Now the group of Izagirre starting to open up a bit more of an advantage over the 26 seconds, 27 seconds now between themselves and the Talansky group chasing.
Well, TJ's doing a big turn now in this descent, obviously feeling a bit better than the top of the climb when he was distanced, and TJ thinking of another stage win. He's already got one to his name in this year's Tour de Suisse. Pantano will help as well because he's moving up in the general classification. Jon Izagirre, I think he's looking to keep a hold of or get into second place overall. So all of these will ride. I think it looks like Rui Costa is coming up to possibly join them as well.
Rui Costa, 3 times winner, is still in with a shout of a stage victory this year. If he can get back up to that group, and then they in turn can make the junction with the race leaders. Lost a little bit of his advantage as they hit a flatter road. He starts to pedal. He finds now inside 20 seconds to the Izagirre group as Lopez really piles it on and realises that he's in a solo time trial fight to the line. 2 bottles on board. I did say it was a 1 bottle day. These riders in the habit of hydrating even on a wet day. So just over 10 kilometres remaining in the Tour de Suisse of 2016, with your overall race leader Miguel Angel Lopez of Team Astana and Colombia racing to glory. But can he hang on ahead of this group of riders led by TJ Van Garderen? Started the day 7th overall. Just behind him on his wheel, Jarlinson Pantano started the day 5th. And Jon Izagirre, who started the day 3rd and is set to move up, as indeed is the 4th member of this group, Czernecki of Team Katusha, who was 13th at the outset of today's activities. And Rui Costa is trying to get across as well. Behind, where is Andrew Talansky? He had Joe Dombrowski for company when they started this descent. It's Bargui with Rui Costas. That's a fantastic effort from Warren Bargui. Really looked to be suffering on that climb, but what a brave descent.
I tell you what, he's bounced back. Delapart has been distanced in this descent. He rode a great mountain and he's just not got it when it comes down to this tricky descent. We're just moving back now to see where Talansky, and there's Dombrowski and Talansky. And Talansky's having to ride. He's going to have to ride all the way in the last 10 kilometres now because he is drifting out the top 3 now.
2-up time trial for the Cannondale men. They've got to get back on terms or he's going to lose a very strong finish in a World Tour stage race, a national stage race, the longest outside of the Grand Tours at 9 days of racing in total. As we survey the scene in the group chasing behind with this is Chislik on the front, Verva Active Jet, and all those riders are riding. I don't know what I'm saying, of course it's Pantano. It's the 2nd group on the road. Izagirre, everybody riding. And now Talansky with Dombrowski on the front, Talansky at the back with his rain jacket. The man sitting in 2nd place has been supported so well by Joe Dombrowski over the week. Now TJ Van Garderen pushing hard to try and close that gap. The race leader has been dragged back, so now we have a group of 5 up front. Inside 8 kilometres to go.
Yeah, I don't think the bonuses will come into play now. There's enough time between most of these riders, but they're all committed. TJ, Pantano, Jon Izagirre, the race leaders there, Czernecki, they're all moving up in the general classification, but it's still a stage win. And Pantano would love to win this for IAM, the team that bases itself here in Switzerland. But the race isn't over yet because I think the GC's pretty much been wrapped up by Lopez here, because the only person I think could have challenged him closely, he looks so strong at the moment, would have been Talansky, but Talansky's losing out today. He started the day in 2nd place at 8 seconds. I can't see him staying on the podium today, but can Warren Bargui and Rui Costa make it up here? And if they do, you would think that Rui Costa would be one of the favourites for a stage win here, but it's going to be flat out racing from all 5 of these riders. Czernecki is the only rider that's going to sit here, and can he give Katusha the stage win that they've been trying for all week?
Yeah, well, Czernecki's set to move up. Interesting that Lopez is still minded to ride. He certainly wouldn't be expected to, as the yellow jersey being caught by this group. still wants to charge on to put Andrew Talansky as far behind him as possible.
I think so, because 10, 6 and 4 on the finishing line. If Talansky comes back here, you never know. I know that there are other faster riders, but if Talansky was to win the stage and Lopez outside the top 3, then Tour de Suisse would be his. But I can't see that happening now, and it's Lopez's best interest. Jon Izagirre moving up into second place. Pantano obviously moving up. He needs a little bit more time, but I think Warren Barguil and Rui Costa, it would be nice to know what time gap back to the 2 riders, because Warren Barguil is hanging on by his fingertips to a possible podium place here in Tour de Suisse.
So pretty much on the bottom of the hill now as Jarlinson Pantano takes the group ahead and racing in towards Davos with Jon Izagirre across the railway crossing very shortly. Jon Izagirre goes to the front. Is he moving up into second place overall? TJ Van Garderen in the red of BMC, already a stage win. Can he make it a double? Sergei Chinetsky is sitting at the back in the red of Katusha, and that would be a fabulous achievement, and he's going to roll the dice and see if the group will tow him to glory, and will he be able to produce the sprint at the back end. Chinetsky with a big opportunity on the front in the red of the BMC squad, local sponsored team, and from the United States, looking for a double stage success. Jon Izagirre is looking for a double as well. Superb time trial performance. Can he win a mountain stage, albeit an extremely short one? But this is a World Tour bike race, and these are big points on offer.
Just saying there, they just pulled out the car there, and a couple of the riders just looked back. I think Rui Costa and Warren Barguil are getting very, very close, and Warren Barguil is going to tow Rui Costa as much as he can, because he's fighting to keep that or to go on to the podium, while Rui Costa can afford to help him a little bit, but keep a little bit back just in case Warren Barguil tows him up to this leading group. Potentially Rui Costa could be possibly winning the stage, but they have to get there first, that's the thing, and Rui Costa can't afford to wait behind.
Well, now they're starting to jockey for position a little bit. Jarlinson Pantano finds himself with a few bike lengths of an advantage. It's Izagirre that's going to close the gap. Lopez is on the wheel of the Spaniard, and TJ Van Garderen and Sergei Chinetsky find themselves with a little bit of work to do. Chinetsky doesn't want to have to close the gap, but Van Garderen is going to make him, I think. Izagirre goes again and catches Pantano, so the group has split. Will Van Garderen be able to get back on terms? So the first skirmishing beginning with just 3 kilometres remaining in this year's Tour de Suisse. Will Warren Barguil be able to get back on terms? That little flurry of attacks won't have done him any favours. Will they stall now?
Well, that's the thing, they have to keep on riding, because the riders behind will pounce very, very quickly. They are still thinking the stage when it does look as if Jon Izagirre is doing what he wants to do. He wants to keep the pace high. He wants to make sure he gets that second place. Pantano wants to ride as well, because he needs as much time as possible, because Warren Barguil is just sitting behind, and he'll be taking that potential podium place that Pantano thought he might have had a chance of getting on today.
Every time Pantano goes to the front of the group, he opens up a few bike lengths advantage. Izagirre is still riding, and that is a difficulty for Rui Costa, and Warren Barguil behind. Rui Costa certainly is giving him a turn, and has he managed to no, the two of them still together, and Rui Costa on the front, Warren Barguil, and he within 10 seconds now of the leaders, but just 2 and a bit kilometres remaining. Barguil back to the front. They can see them, they can sense them. A couple of cars in between, they'll pull those out as Warren Barguil tries to get back on terms. The road rising just ever so slightly, and TJ Van Garderen on the front.
Well, it's how much have they got left? As Rui Costa plays smart. He is a very good finisher, but Chinetsky has just been sitting on the tail of these 5 riders and waiting to pounce.
It's a canny ride by the Katusha man, who is giving himself the best shot at a famous stage success, and a great addition to his Palmares as TJ Van Garderen just slots in behind. 4 of these 5 riders are contributing, but they find their advantage now down to single figures in terms of seconds, less than 10 seconds now to those 2 riders behind. Barguil gives a big effort to try and get back on terms.
I think this effort now by Jon Izagirre means that I don't think it's now possible that Rui Costa and Barguil are going to make it now. Even if they do make it now, they're going to be very, very tired. So Jon Izagirre is just setting a hard enough tempo, setting someone else up for for a stage win here, because all he's interested in is making sure he gets second overall.
And where is Andrew Talansky? Further back, and perhaps being distanced and losing out on a podium finish in a World Tour stage race, a national stage race. The Tour de Suisse, a little bit of a benefit from the wind, and they'll go down to a couple of hairpins inside the final kilometre, and that will mean that they'll be heading into a bit of a headwind, and the backstage will get full notion of that very shortly as Izagirre leads them through this left-hander. Under the kite, less than a kilometre remaining in the final stage of the Tour of Switzerland. Care to call it?
Well, I think Czernetski's been sitting there at the rear of this group, and I think he is the favourite to win this stage.
Well, here comes the jump from TJ Van Garderen. Izagirre is alive to that one, and Van Garderen has to tuck back in. I think maybe he was thinking about it, but didn't quite get there. Warren Barguil and Rui Costa are still trying to chase, but it's 5 riders that are going to contest this stage victory. That would appear to be the case. Czernetski still sitting at the back. How much energy has he been able to save? Jarlinson Pantano's been working hard just in front of him. TJ Van Garderen from BMC is in the middle of the group. The overall race leader, Miguel Angel Lopez, is racing to glory. Can it be stage success as well? Izagirre has been doing most of the work. Will he have anything left for a finishing sprint? Seems unlikely at the moment. Lopez is sitting second in line as we're inside the final few hundred metres. Czernetski's going to launch from the back. Pantano goes first. Will Czernetski be able to get around him? It's Pantano going for glory in Davos this afternoon. Jarlinson Pantano with Czernetski behind him inside the final 50 metres. Here comes Czernetski around. Will he get there in time? Oh, I don't think he's going to make it, because Jarlinson Pantano has taken the final stage success in the Tour of Switzerland 2016, the win that he so dearly wanted. It's another great success for Colombia. It's a great success for Miguel Angel Lopez, because he's confirmed as the overall race winner. But what about that for a wonderful sprint success from Jarlinson Pantano? Well, he can barely believe it.
What a fairy tale ending it was for Pantano there, taking the stage win, and well deserved. He rode a very good stage, and I tell you what, with Matthias Frank, and the congratulations from the two Colombians there, Lopez and Pantano. What a well deserved victory, and it'll be really happy camp for the IAM riders.
Well, here comes Andrew Talansky, and it's been a disappointing day for him, because he's going to slip out of the podium position. A brave defence, but unfortunately just coming up a little bit short, and almost a minute between himself and the group up front, as Pantano continues to celebrate, and so much appreciation for him from the other riders in the race. One of the first over to congratulate him, Miguel Angel Lopez, not too far behind him. Warren Barguil raced so bravely to get back on terms, just couldn't quite make it. And Pantano is absolutely
He came here as a support rider for Matthias Frank. Matthias Frank climbed off. He stepped up, and he has really stepped up, and onto the world stage. We all knew he was a good rider. He just held off Czernetski. I thought Czernetski might have had the legs, but he left it too late. 25 metres to go. Never had the legs to come round. Pantano wins the final stage here in the Tour de Suisse, and well deserved at that. Just look at the back there of Rui Costa and Barguil. Just got on just as the sprint started.
Just a little too late for those two riders. They'll be given the same time as the winner, but no doubt about that, man that gets the win, Jarlinson Pantano, makes it 5 Colombians that have tasted victory in stage success in the Tour of Switzerland, with Miguel Angel Lopez. No stage win for him, but he becomes the first Colombian to take the overall win in the Tour of Switzerland. Jarlinson Pantano from the local team, IAM Cycling. What a popular win that is in Colombia and also in Switzerland, and this team is due to shut its doors at the end of the year unless something changes radically in the next few weeks.
Well, before this race, Colombia had 3 stage wins in the history of the Tour de Suisse, and this year Pantano's just made that 5 now, so they've had 2 with Atapuma and Lopez there, Pantano, but with Lopez winning the overall, it's been a great Tour de Suisse for the Colombians.
Riders will be coming in 2s and 3s, short stage, but that big climb really splitting the field up. What a day we've had, what a week we've had. 9 tough days of racing, the weather really playing its part in redesigning the course today as well. There is the confirmation of the finishing order at the end of the 9th stage, with Pantano getting the sprint success ahead of Sergei Chernetsky. Jan Izagirre, great work, third on the day. Miguel Angel Lopez will take the overall victory from 4th on the stage ahead of Van Garderen. Rui Costa, Warren Barguil, Talansky, Victor Delapart and Joe Dombrowski gets a top 10 finish after his sterling efforts. And let's have a look behind as Jarlinson Pantano opened the sprint, and fortune favoured the brave on that occasion.
He did. He went with about 200 metres to go now, just 250 to go. Chernetsky decided to try and get in the slipstream, but I just think Pantano wanted it more. You know, he really gave it absolutely everything. Chernetsky thought he maybe can buy him, but didn't have the legs in the end after sitting on and, you know, trying to get that stage win for Katusha. But it's a huge win for the team of IAM. They've already said, the owner's already said, he's thinking about stopping at the end of the year. Well, this might give him the opportunity to think otherwise.
Well, there's confirmation of the overall standings at the conclusion of the 2016 Tour de Suisse with Miguel Angel Lopez. You're going to be hearing a lot about him in the future. 12 seconds to the good ahead of Jan Izagirre, who moves up onto the podium, as indeed too does Warren Barguil and Andrew Talansky.